What is up, everybody? I'm your host of Browning and Stave, and mainstream media isn't touching this story with a 20-foot pole.
I don't want to touch that with a 40-foot pole.
Apparently, acknowledging reality makes you a Putin shill, further proving we live in the dumbest time period ever. Anyhow, it appears Ukraine strikes on Donetsk killed as many as 80 civilians. They struck gas stations, homes, apartments, basically anywhere you find civilians, they hit it. Now, this obviously goes against the propaganda Western media is pushing, so Fox, CNN, The Guardian, none of them are covering this. Thankfully, there are independent journalists all over the world, and they have the video evidence and the perspective we need to break out of the echo chamber we're forced to live in. With that being said, here's an interview with independent journalist Mike Jones from the channel Earl Grey. The full video will be available in the description.
8 years the war in Ukraine has been going on. Ukraine has been firing on residential and civilian areas in the Russian-populated areas of Donbass. This is areas they do not control. This morning we saw the largest attack on the people of Donbass since the war began. We're talking about civilian attacks. Take a look. What you just saw was a barrage of 40 Ukrainian rockets hitting homes, shops, a cathedral, according to the mayor of Donetsk. Now, Mike Jones is a British journalist and expat living in Russia. He has an awesome channel on YouTube, Earl Grey. He has been traveling to the region of Donbass. He's been delivering presents to people there. He joins us today to talk about this escalation as well as what the conditions are. Can you tell us a little bit about the shelling that happened and what it's like to be there, because we know that this shelling is not necessarily new. This is something they live with every day.
Yeah, that is precisely what it is. In the reports that I've seen, because we're about to go there very soon, and it was only about 3 weeks ago when we were there last. The reports I've seen is they believe it's a retaliation for the seemingly impending fall of Bakhmut, where we've seen this horrible concentration and conflict, almost like the First World War. So the theory being that Ukraine is lashing out at the people of Donetsk, and perhaps it's mind games, because many of those soldiers serving there will no doubt have family. The last report that I saw said something like 80 civilians had been killed and 200 injured in what was an horrific week for the people of Donetsk.
It just sounds so unbelievable. And for those of us who don't live like that, how is this different than how they're living every day? You say that they're living with this, but what does that mean?
Well, when I was there last, it was just akin to rumbles of thunder in the background. So you'd have some seemingly close strikes where you go, oh, that one was pretty close. But everyone was going about their daily life, including myself. We were doing walk and talk videos where I featured Eva K. Bartlett, one of your previous guests that you've had here on Redacted before. So that was kind of just the normal life where you had this sort of rumble in the background. What we're talking about, I believe, in this, at least this past week, maybe two now, is something very different, very concentrated, particularly in the residential areas. It's quite clear from these strikes and instances that we've seen. And when I was looking at some of the impact sites, these were streets I've walked on outside hotels I stayed in. So it really struck me just sort of how vicious and calculated these predominantly HIMARS strikes, but I think there's also artillery, NATO artillery being used against these people.